Once upon a time, in the misty highlands of northern Britain, there was a kingdom wrapped in silence and fog, where time seemed to sleep and dreams wandered freely among the trees. She had long auburn hair, thoughtful gray eyes, and a spirit more curious than most in her court. Unlike other royals who adored banquets and balls, Rosa spent her days in the castle's ancient library or walking the woodland trails behind the palace grounds. He would say, in the heart of this quiet realm stood an old stone castle with ivy-covered towers. Known as Windmere Keep, there lived a young princess named Rosa, beloved by the people, yet lonely beyond imagination. Her mother, Queen Arwen, had vanished in Rosa's early childhood, leaving behind only whispers and riddles, leaves crunched beneath her boots, and a light wind carried the scent of moss and old stories. As she crossed a stone bridge over a quiet stream, she heard a soft whimpering from the brambles nearby. Her father, King Edward the Stern, ruled with rigid formality, avoiding all talk of dreams, magic, or mysteries. Dreams are for the weak, he would say. Reality is for rulers. But Rosa believed differently. She often dreamt of a man in a blue cloak who walked between stars and shadows, whispering truths in forgotten languages. Only those who listen with the heart can awaken the sleeping truth. His name echoed through her dreams, Falkner, the fox in the bramble once freed. It staggered a few steps, then looked back at her. She brought her bread and water, and the two shared stories by candlelight. But when King Edward came to power, he banished all magic from the land. Falkner vanished, and with him, the dreaming realm began to decay. One autumn afternoon, Rosa wandered deeper than usual into the woods. The fox's eyes were not like any animal she had seen. They were deep violet, almost human in expression. Pushing aside the thorny branches, she found a small silver-furred fox, its leg caught in an old hunting trap. The kingdom's last hope lies within a dream you have yet to understand. Oh, you poor thing, Rosa whispered, kneeling down. She carefully unlatched the trap, whispering soothing words. The fox winced, but did not bite or run. You must find the key of echoes before the next moon, or Windmere will fall. You are not like the others, said a voice, not aloud, but inside her mind. Rosa gasped. Did you just speak? The fox nodded slowly. Its voice was gentle, but ancient, like wind over forgotten stones. The tapestries wept blood. The windows showed not the sky, but endless shadows. Her father stood frozen, like a statue, and there, at the foot of the throne, stood Falkner, cloaked in indigo, his face half hidden by shadows. Rain pattered against her window. This was no earthly place. It was the realm between dreams, Falkner's domain. The world felt heavy, as if something had shifted. From here on, only your heart can lead you. I am Ella, guardian of the dreaming forest. And you, Princess Rosa, are in grave danger. The tale of the dream weaver back at the castle. Rosa hid Ella in the abandoned tower chamber where old tapestries gathered dust. As she stepped forward, the sands beneath her glowed with each footstep. The dream realm had begun to awaken. Hidden beneath the roots of ancient oaks was a door made of moonstone. On it, an inscription shimmered in faint blue letters. Ella explained her tale. Long ago, the kingdom was protected by a dream weaver named Falkner, a man who could enter dreams and weave them into protective enchantments. But he still visits me, Rosa said softly. In dreams, Ella's ears twitched. That is no accident. Falkner chose you. What dream? Rosa asked, her heart pounding. The one where everything ends or begins, Ella replied. Whispers in the stone. That night, Rosa had another dream. She stood in the throne room, but everything was wrong. Rosa, he said, the kingdom sleeps in a spell of forgetting. She awoke with a start. The next morning, she took Ella and slipped out of the castle before dawn. Into the hollow hills. Ella led her to the hollow hills, a place spoken of only in myths. Only the dreamer may enter the dream. As Rosa reached out, the door pulsed, and she was pulled into a blinding light. She found herself standing on a quiet shore where the sky flowed like water and islands drifted like clouds. Birds sang in forgotten tongues. Ella, now full-sized and glowing, stood beside her. "I could only guide you this far," she said. End of part 1. The First Dream Gate. From the distance, Rosa saw a figure on the horizon, tall, calm, and cloaked in blue. But so had Moira, the shadow enchantress who once banished Falkner and now stirred again. Sensing Rosa's arrival, the true journey had only begun. The dream walker revealed the shore of the dream realm was silent, but Rosa could feel its pulse, soft and ancient, beneath her feet. As she stepped closer, the cloaked figure turned slowly. "Falkner," Rosa whispered. He was tall, with silver-streaked hair falling over sharp, weary eyes. His robe shimmered like ink and moonlight. Round his neck hung a chain with a glowing shard, pulsing in rhythm with Rosa's heartbeat. "I've been waiting," he said, his voice low, carrying both weight and warmth. "But you dream clearly." "For me?" she asked. "For the one who listens," Falkner replied. "The kingdom has forgotten its story. Its truth was shattered and hidden by fear." He extended a hand. The dreamscape around them flickered. Now a forest, now a starfield, now a crumbling castle. Everything broken can be rewritten if you're willing to face it. The key of Echo's symbols spun slowly in the air, words from no language Rosa had ever seen. But somehow, she understood them. Falkner led Rosa to a stone archway that pulsed with soft blue light. "This is the first gate," Falkner said. "Beyond lies the vault of forgotten names, guarded by the keeper of broken truths." On the walls were thousands of names, some glowing, some faded, some scratched out. The archway shimmered and pulled her through. "What is the key of Echoes?" Rosa asked. "A memory spoken in truth, not in fear," he replied. "Find it, and you can wake the kingdom." Before Rosa could ask more, Falkner stepped back. "My name is Rosa of Windmere, and the truth I fear is that my mother didn't vanish. I believe my father silenced her because she believed in dreams. The vault of forgotten names, the key of Echoes, is yours. But beware." It was warm, and suddenly, memories that had been blurry returned. Her mother reading her fairy tales, her voice whispering, "Truth brings not just light, but consequences." Rosa landed gently in a circular hall lit by floating crystals. At the center sat a figure wrapped in robes made of threads and mist. "The keeper, you found it. You seek what is lost," the keeper rasped. "I seek the key of Echoes," Rosa said firmly. The keeper's hollow eyes studied her. "Then you must offer your true name, and one truth you fear to speak." Strange clouds swirled, and shadows moved through the mist. Moira was near. Rosa hesitated. Silence. Then the keeper raised one long hand. A crystal glowed brightly, then detached itself and floated toward Rosa. As Rosa stepped in, the crystal in her hand glowed and floated upward, illuminating carvings no one had seen for decades. And through the mist stepped a tall woman with glowing green eyes and a cloak made of smoke. "Moira, you have spoken your truth." But when Edward took the throne, he declared dreams dangerous, outlawed magic, and banished his own queen. Rosa reached out and took the crystal. The dreamer awakens. Dreams are how we speak when no one listens. Back to the waking world, she held up the crystal, the key of Echoes, and it blazed with white light. Moira hissed, shielding her face. Rosa awoke in her chamber, the crystal clutched in her hand. Ella, still in fox form, stood by the window. Rosa nodded, but we're running out of time. The people of Windmere, waking from decades of numbness, stepped into the courtyard, some blinking in wonder, others weeping with recognition. The skies above Windmere were no longer calm. The return of magic Rosa brought the key to the heart of the castle, the Mirror Hall, long sealed by King Edward. Even when I forced myself to forget, she only stepped forward and placed the key of echoes in his palm. The walls still echoed with forgotten enchantments. Ella watched with awe. This place remembers. The walls lit up with a forgotten tale. Queen Arwen, Rosa's mother, had once been the kingdom's dream guardian, working with Falkner to keep the balance between dreams and reality. Rosa's hands trembled. He betrayed her, and the kingdom. A shadow returns that night. As Rosa stood in the courtyard, a storm tore through the sky. Thunder rolled like a drum of war. Well, well, she said, her voice smooth as poison silk. Ella growled. Falkner appeared at Rosa's side. Calm but tense. You shouldn't be here, he said. Moira laughed. Neither should your dreams. But since you insist on remembering, let's see what happens when the truth unravels. With a flick of her hand, Moira sent shadows racing toward the castle. The battle for memory rose stood firm. Falkner stepped forward, speaking ancient words. The dream realm shimmered around them. Moira snarled. This kingdom chose fear. You cannot reverse that. Rosa raised her voice. We can choose again. From the castle walls, portraits began to glow. From the stones beneath them, old enchantments stirred. Moira, weakened by the growing light, vanished into the shadows with a screech. End of part 2. The kingdom remembers in the silence that followed. Rosa looked at her father standing at the doorway. His face was pale, his hands shaking. You remembered, he whispered. Rosa didn't answer. It's time we all remember. A kingdom stirred. The kingdom of Windmere, once lulled into silence, began to stir as if from a long winter sleep. The people had not realized they were dreaming, or more truthfully, trapped in someone else's dream. The skies cleared. Children laughed again. Musicians took up their lutes. Even the trees seemed to sigh in relief. But the shadow had not fully lifted, though Moira had vanished. Rosa knew it was only a retreat, not a defeat. There was a deeper wound, an origin of the forgetting, that still pulsed within the heart of the land. And at its center stood the fate of her mother, the forbidden chamber, guided by the glow of the key of echoes. Rosa and Ella descended into the deepest vault of Windmere Keep, one that had been sealed by King Edward himself. The door bore the royal crest, twisted by a black slash across its center, a scar made not by time, but by fear and sighed. Under a layer of dust and enchantment sat a single silver mirror, cracked but not broken. As Rosa approached, the mirror shimmered and then spoke. You look like her. The voice was soft, regal, and aching with memory. Mother, Rosa whispered. The mirror pulsed, and then, standing inside its surface, was a reflection of Queen Arwen, radiant but trapped, her form a whisper of light. The Queen's secret. Queen Arwen's reflection told the truth. Years ago, she had seen a vision through a dream, a future where Windmere forgot its soul and turned to stone. She pleaded with Edward to trust in dreams, in Falkner's warnings. But the king, broken by war and betrayal, had grown cold. He feared what he could not control, and dreams cannot be caged. He saw dreams as threats, not guidance, and in fear, he banished Arwen to the dream realm, sealing her within the mirror of memory. She left to protect us, Rosa whispered, and he told everyone she vanished. Her form was larger, her cloak trailing smoke and ash. She held a staff made from twisted dreams, black and pulsing with sorrow. Arwen nodded sadly. The shadow awakens. As Rosa reached out to free her mother, a deep voice echoed through the vault. She cannot return. The balance is not yet paid. If you enter the deepest layer of the dream realm, the well of origins, you may restore your mother without taking her place. But once entered, you cannot return unless you confront your own deepest fear. It was Moira, now emerging from the dark corners of the chamber. You want your mother back? Then give me your place, she hissed. One dream for another. Rosa looked to her mother, then to Ella, and then to Falkner, who now appeared from the shadows. There is another way, he said calmly, but it will cost something greater. Moira laughed, fading like smoke. She won't return. None ever do. The choice Moira raised her staff, and the room rippled. Falkner turned to Rosa, at the place where all dreams are born and forgotten. Rosa didn't flinch. Then take me there. Falkner and Ella exchanged a glance, but Rosa's resolve was set. She had faced lies, shadows, her father's silence. Now she would face herself. Into the well you were too weak to stop your mother's fate. You ran from reality into fantasy. The well of origins was hidden beneath the dreaming forest. The entrance was not grand, merely a circle of still water. But as Rosa stepped in, the world turned inside out. She was now alone. No Ella, no Falkner, no castle, just silence, and then a voice. You're not enough. You were never enough to save her. The words cut like ice. Rosa turned and faced a version of herself, dark-eyed, bitter, made from doubt and self-blame. This was her fear, not Moira, not her father. The sky was clear, painted with pale pink and gold. Herself, confronting the inner shadow, Rosa's shadow self, circled her. The voices, the light. I carried them when no one else would. You believed in dreams because you couldn't face the truth. Rosa closed her eyes. No, she whispered. I didn't run. I remembered. She reached inside her cloak and pulled out the key of echoes, now pulsing with her heartbeat. I remembered the stories. The shadow faltered. Rosa stepped forward. I am not the fear. I am the one who listens. Those words, the shadow shattered, and the well responded. The return Rosa awoke on the castle grounds, just before dawn. Before her stood Queen Arwen, whole and alive, tears on her cheeks. My daughter, she whispered, you did what I could not. Rosa fell into her arms. Falkner stood behind them, watching with a proud smile. You've completed the cycle. Dream, truth, sacrifice, and return. Ella stood taller now, no longer a fox, but a guardian spirit, shining faintly. And from the distance, King Edward approached, slowly, like a man walking out of a long, cold storm. A kingdom reborn after the Queen's return, Windmere blossomed like a valley touched by spring. The once gold halls of the castle filled with warmth, music, and laughter. Magic, once whispered in secret, was now embraced openly. Dream books returned to the library shelves, and children were taught to listen to the voice within their sleep. The realm of dreams was no longer forbidden. It was sacred. Queen Arwen resumed her role as guardian of dreams, while King Edward, humbled, stepped back from ruling and focused on healing the wounds he had caused. At the heart of this rebirth stood Rosa, now beloved not just as a princess, but as the keeper of the echo. But dreams are rarely finished with one ending, and Rosa could feel it, a ripple, soft and slow, beneath the surface of her joy. The festival of first light lanterns floated in the sky, each carrying a written memory, a dream, or a wish, to mark the Queen's return. Windmere held its first festival of first light in a generation. Her lantern read. Rosa lit hers, with Falkner and Ella beside her. To all who dream without being seen, we see you. As the lanterns floated skyward, Rosa felt a shift in the breeze, like something old was stirring. Falkner placed a hand on her shoulder. There is one dream left. Rosa, the first one. She turned to him. What do you mean? The vault of first words, where the kingdom's oldest scrolls were sealed in crystal. The original dream, the one that created Windmere, the forgotten prologue. Its title shimmered. Later that night, Falkner led Rosa and Ella into the royal library's deepest chamber. He unwrapped a scroll no one had touched in centuries. The Dreaming Crown, the founding of Windmere, the moment rulers began to fear listening more than speaking. Rosa read aloud. A crown was shaped from starlight, not to rule, but to listen. Whoever wore it would speak with the voice of all dreams, before kings, before queens, before stone and sword. There was a dreamer who sang the world into being. She looked up. What happened to it? Falkner's eyes narrowed. It was hidden. Ella's tail flicked anxiously. If Moira finds it, she'll silence the dreaming world forever. Rosa finished. Moira's final trick. Far away, in the ruins of the Black Hollow, Moira stood before an obsidian altar. Her form was weak, but her ambition blazed brighter than ever. A path of stars lit beneath her feet. She had heard the whispers too. The Dreaming Crown, the source of Windmere's soul. With the last of her strength, she called upon an ancient curse, the Veil of Unvoice, a spell that could mute dreams entirely, not just twist or trap them. Let her speak all she wants, Moira sneered. When the world forgets how to hear, even the loudest truth is silence. The final battle wouldn't be one of swords or spells, but memory against forgetting. The Dreaming Crown's trial. Falkner revealed that the Dreaming Crown was hidden in the Valley of the First Echo, a place no map showed, because it only existed when someone truly listened. That night, Rosa sat in silence by the dreaming pool. You will scream your truth, and no one will remember it. She closed her eyes and whispered, I'm listening. Slowly, the air shimmered. She followed it through starlight and shadow until she reached a quiet hill with a single tree, beneath which lay a glass pedestal, holding a simple crown made of woven silver light and soft crystal petals. The Dreaming Crown. But as Rosa reached out, the wind roared, the world shook. Moira had found her. The battle of silence. The sky cracked open as Moira appeared, now cloaked in a veil of pure shadow. You cannot win, she spat. I have silenced entire realms. Rosa stood firm, the Dreaming Crown in hand. Maybe, but I don't dream alone. And behind her, they came, Queen Arwen, holding a lantern of moonlight. Falkner, with a staff of woven stars relieved. Ella, glowing with guardian fire, and hundreds of Windmere's people holding dreams they had written, carried, or simply remembered. Rosa placed the crown upon her head. Light burst out, not blinding, but inviting. Not a roar, not a spell, but a voice, a shared dream. End of part 4. The crown listens. Moira's veil crumbled. Her voice was lost, not stolen, but absorbed by the truth of the people round her. She faded into the wind, not in agony, but in quiet, almost as Rosa lowered the crown, the realm pulsed with peace. The world had remembered how to listen again. The crown and the choice, the battle had ended. Moira's silence was gone, and the world had begun to sing again. But now came the moment Rosa had not expected. The people knelt before her, murmuring one word, Queen. The Dreaming Crown shimmered gently in her hands. It was warm, alive, even, but it pulsed not with power, rather with possibility. Queen Arwen placed a hand on her daughter's shoulder. You've earned it, Rosa. The people trust you. I trust you. Rosa looked up at the castle towers, then out toward the forest and stars. But deep inside, something stirred, a quiet yearning, the call of the road. That night, Rosa walked the forest paths with Ella by her side, as she had so many times before. What do you feel? Not what do you fear? What if ruling isn't what I'm meant for? She asked softly. Ella flicked her tail. I feel like Windmere is awake now. You did that. Not just here, but everywhere. It doesn't need me to tell it what to do. It needs someone to keep listening. You don't have to rule to protect the dream, and maybe others do too. Beyond these borders, from behind a tree, Falkner stepped out, smiling knowingly. I once said, only those who listen with the heart can awaken the sleeping truth. He held out a hand. I came from beyond Windmere. There are still lands that sleep, and voices forgotten. The map of whispers in the library's deepest vault. Rosa found a map with no markings, gifted by the dreaming crown itself. When she touched it, paths appeared, not roads or cities, but emotional trails, places filled with loss, fear, or forgotten stories. These were places that still needed her. Falkner offered to journey with her. Ella, now a spirit bound by no single forest, would guard the borders of Windmere. Queen Arwen understood, though her eyes shimmered with tears. I lost you once, she whispered, but now I see you were never mine to hold, only to honor. King Edward, now older in heart, embraced Rosa quietly and pressed into her hand a ring once worn by her grandmother. Wherever you walk, Windmere walks with you. The final dream door before leaving. Rosa returned to the dreaming crown one last time. She asked it a simple question. Will I ever return? The crown pulsed once, and her dream that night showed her an image, a young girl, years from now, finding a lantern in the woods, whispering Rosa's name like a legend. Not forgotten, not gone, only becoming something more. The journey begins at dawn. Rosa set out. No royal guard, no crown on her head, only a cloak, a satchel of dream-inked scrolls, and her heart open wide. Falkner walked beside her. The people gathered, not to stop her, but to send her off, singing a lullaby that Rosa's mother once sang to her as a child. As Rosa disappeared into the misty horizon, she felt it again, the dreaming world whispering, not of thrones or war or fear, but of stories waiting to be told. End of Part 5. The wandering dreamkeeper Windmere stood free, dreaming and listening, and far across the hills, in a village where dreams had long been silent, a child awoke in the night with a single name on her lips, Rosa. A village that forgot weeks after Rosa left Windmere. Her map of whispers began to glow again. She and Falkner reached a distant glen tucked behind storm-wrapped cliffs. The trees were twisted, the birds silent, and the sky hung heavy like a curtain refusing to lift. This was Eldon Moor, a village once full of song and art. Now it stood abandoned in spirit, though its people still moved and spoke. But they were empty. They didn't remember stories. They didn't feel joy or sorrow. They just existed. They didn't dream. It's like the soul of the place is asleep. Something ancient slumbers here, older than Moira, something the world chose to forget. They've forgotten how to feel, Rosa whispered. Inside sat a child with silver eyes, alone by a cold hearth, singing to no one. Falkner nodded grimly. The house of the hollow child that night, guided by a lantern that lit itself. Rosa followed a quiet humming through Eldon Moor. It led her to a crooked cottage overgrown with moss and moonflowers. Who are you? Rosa asked gently. The child looked up. I'm the dream. That was left behind. The forgotten dream, so they chose silence. The child spoke in riddles and rhymes, fragments of a story scattered like broken glass. From what Rosa gathered, Eldon Moor once held the first dreaming tree, a tree that gave people not just dreams while they slept, but a sense of wonder during the day. But centuries ago, during a great storm of war and famine, the village elders made a pact. They buried the tree's heart to stop the dreams, fearing they made people too fragile. The world was too painful for dreams, the child said. But dreams aren't weakness, Rosa whispered. They're survival, but it would require her own voice to vanish, becoming part of the dream itself. But she, as she was, would fade from memory. The child nodded. Then dig. The root of memory, the dreaming crown, tucked in her satchel, glowed. The earth responded. Rosa, Falkner, and the villagers, slowly awakening, followed the child to the center of town, where a cracked stone covered the earth. Rosa knelt and placed her palm on the stone. Roots rose through the cracks. A single silver seed emerged, pulsing gently. This is what they buried. The first dream. Rosa cradled it. Trees lit up. Birds sang in chords no one had heard in centuries. Now came a choice. She could plant the seed, awakening dreams across the entire world. Not just in Windmere. Her stories would remain. No statues, no throne. Just the dream she passed on. The choice of the dreamkeeper. Rosa looked to Falkner. You knew this would come. He nodded. This is why the dream chose you. Ella's voice echoed faintly on the wind. You dreamed not for yourself, but for others. Rosa turned to the villagers, now fully awake. Some crying, some smiling for the first time in decades. Then she looked up at the stars and whispered, let the world remember dreaming, not me. And she placed the seed into the soil. The song beneath the skylight spread from the roots like rivers of moonlight. And Rosa, slowly, became light herself. Her body shimmered, her form softening like mist, until only her voice remained. She vanished into the dream, so the world could awaken. She didn't vanish with sorrow. She vanished with peace. Only those who listen will find me. Her final whisper said. The people stood in silence. Falkner placed the dreaming crown on the child's head. You'll guide them now. Epilogue. Years later, children now gather under the blooming dream tree of Eldon Moor, telling stories they swear they hear in their dreams. Wanderers speak of a figure in silver mist who appears in the night, placing a lantern on quiet porches. They say she has no name, just a song in her eyes. But in Windmere, in the oldest book of dreams, one story remains, always on the first page. Once, a girl chose not to rule, but to listen. Her name, Rosa.